Hey guys, it's Sam again. I finished reading Thomas's journal and I can't believe I trusted him. Thomas knew everything. He knew what the town was all along. He knew Irene would come after me. He didn't tell me anything. I felt like such an idiot. Every single national park has one of these towns. He'd been the head of a team of people called the Watchers, a branch of a company called ARC, Anomaly Research Corporation, assigned to monitor Hungry Horse, to make sure that the people who go missing in national parks are found before the town can get them. Jesus Christ. Why didn't I figure this out sooner? Why did I trust him? Stupid Sam. I read some more of his journal. It explains that the towns might be sentient and can choose who can see and interact with them, and how national parks are only founded when one of these towns blink into existence. Yellowstone is the first and has the largest town. But the towns aren't the main threat. It's what the people who get taken turn into. When they get taken, their minds are changed. They become something else, something sinister. I flip to another page and it explains the town doesn't take everyone. Some people are harder for the town to influence. They can resist its power. These people are called Watchers. Watchers still can be taken, but it's rare. I think Hungry Horse just took the last Watcher in Yellowstone. There's a phone number and a note written inside the front cover of the journal. It says to call the number if Thomas is missing or if he seems off, or to tell people who pick up on the other end that Thomas has been compromised. This is fucking insane, I thought to myself. I set the journal aside and I look out the window. The sun was setting and it cast a beautiful orange glow over the mountains. I could hear the river flowing nearby. I heard a noise outside and turned around. A large shadow moved quickly across the trees near the cabin. I watched as it approached the edge of the woods. It was Thomas. He didn't look injured at all, despite the fight with Irene. I ran to the door and locked it as he stepped onto the porch. I looked out the window at him. "Why aren't you injured?" I asked through the window. "They can't hurt me anymore," he responded. "Who are they?" I asked. "The town," he whispered. "The town?" "Yeah." "What happened to your team?" "He's dead. He's gone." "Is that why you never told me about the town?" "I didn't want to scare you." "How'd you know Irene would come after me?" "The town let me know." "The town? What?" "You know what I mean. The town tells you stuff because you're a Watcher?" "Yes." "The fuck?" "It's not important." "Your journal didn't say the town was intelligent." "It's alive. It thinks and it feels. It's a living entity. Its mind is vast and powerful. And it talks to you." "Sometimes." "What does it say?" "Everything. Everything." I was dumbstruck. "That's impossible." "It's true. Now please, let me inside," he loudly begged. I noticed something was off with his voice. "Why do you sound different?" "Because you're making me nervous. You're freaking me out." "Please let me in." I looked at him for a few minutes without saying anything. There was something about his face that made me curious, something that seemed off. "Look." Finally, I shook my head. "Sorry, Thomas." He threw his body at the door. "Let me in!" he shouted. "I can't do that, Thomas," I said calmly. I unlocked the gun locker and grabbed the only shotgun we had. I pointed it at him and waited. Thomas stopped moving and leaned against the door, his breathing becoming shallow and quick. "Sammy, you're my best friend," he started to say. "I'm sorry, Thomas. I can't open the door." "Stop lying! Open the fucking door!" He started throwing himself against it again, panicking. I pushed the table and couch in front of it. "Samuel!" he screamed. "Open this door!" I just ignored him, went upstairs, and laid on the bed. He kept banging on the door for an hour. And eventually, he stopped banging on the door. But I could still hear him yelling. I think I might just call that number that he wrote down in his journal. Maybe ARC will send someone to deal with Thomas. I dialed the number. It rang 3 times before a man picked up. "Hello? Thomas?" I sat there silently. "I got Thomas." "Are you safe?" the man asked. "No, I'm not fucking safe," I screamed. "Thomas has become one of those things from Hungry Horse, and now he's here, and he's trying to break into the cabin." "Hold on. We'll send someone right away. Is anyone else with you?" "Just me." "Okay. Stay put. Don't let him get inside the cabin," he said. And then he hung up. I laid back down on the bed and tried to ignore the sounds coming from downstairs. I could hear Thomas pounding against the door again. I was terrified that ARC wouldn't show up soon enough. Then suddenly I heard a car pull up outside. I jumped off the bed and rushed downstairs and looked out the window. There were men with rifles standing outside. I saw one of them run to the cabin. The banging at the door stopped. Thomas had noticed him. I heard Thomas roar and the sound of gunshots. I watched as the man loaded Thomas, who was still alive somehow, back into the van. The 2 men got into the van and drove off as another car pulled up to the cabin. A man in a white lab coat stepped out and walked up to the door, knocking on it. "Open the door, Sam. Don't make this harder than it has to be." "Who the fuck are you?" "My name's Dr. Jaden Oxblood," he said. "Well, what the hell do you want?" "I need to talk to you about Thomas," he said. "I don't have time for your bullshit. Just leave me alone," I yelled at him. I heard him sigh, and that's when I felt an arm grab my shoulder, and something pricked my neck. I started to curse, and the world faded to black. I woke up on the couch around 30 minutes later. Looking around, I saw that Dr. Oxblood was sitting in a chair across from me. "Now that everything's calmed down, you're going to tell me everything you know," he said. Guess I didn't have a choice. Oxblood drove me to the headquarters of ARC. Once there, Oxblood led me into his office and told me to sit down. He locked the door and sat across from me. The room was filled with bookshelves and pictures of presidents and generals from many different wars. On the walls were weapons that I didn't recognize. "So, tell me about the town," he said. "Makes you think I know anything about the town?" I asked. "I have reason to believe that you're aware of its existence," he said. "Fine. What do you want to know?" "Tell me everything you know about the town." "Everything?" I asked. "All of it," he answered. I told him about the day that Thomas told me about that town, our trip to Hungry Horse, and how Thomas had stayed behind to fight Irene. He listened intently as I spoke. He was taking notes while I talked and occasionally asked me a question. When I finished telling him everything he wanted to know, he stood up and walked over to a cabinet and opened it. He reached inside and pulled out a small silver box and placed it on his desk. "What's that?" I asked. "It's a key," he answered. "One day you'll need it." "Why would I ever need a key?" I asked. "You'll find out," he said. "If you really want to find out what happened to your friend and figure out what the town is, you'll use the key to unlock the secrets of the town." "Why should I trust you?" "Can't tell you that," he said. "You'll have to learn to trust me in time." He handed me the key. It was heavier than I expected it to be. I looked at it for a long moment before putting it in my pocket. "What do you plan on doing with me?" I asked. "You're a very valuable asset to us," he said. "We want you to become the newest watcher of Yellowstone." I stared at him for a second, remembering what I read in Thomas's journals. The hell is a watcher, exactly? It's a title given to humans who have been chosen by ARC to help protect the world from the supernatural, he said. "Doesn't ARC already have watchers?" I asked. "Yes. They have many watchers, but none of them have ever entered one of the towns without changing. Like you." You're the first human to enter one of the towns and return without becoming a monster, he answered. I sat there and I thought about it. So if I agree to become a watcher, what are the risks? I asked. There are no guarantees, he said. The risk of your life, your sanity, and possibly losing your humanity are all high. And what happens if I decline? I asked. Well, we'll kill you. I laughed. And that's why you think I'll accept? He smiled. Because you want to save your best friend Thomas, and you want answers. Are you saying you can give me those answers? I asked. Not yet, he said. Once you become a watcher, I'll be able to teach you everything you need to know. How long until I can become a watcher? He smiled. You've been a watcher ever since reading that journal. I stared at him for a minute before shaking my head. You can't be serious. I'm completely serious. All right. So what exactly do you expect me to do? I don't know any more about towns than you do. I know that much. So, why did you ask me here then? To offer you a job. A job? Yeah. Job as a watcher. I want you to become one of us. What kind of job is it? Well, in order to become an official watcher, you must become a member of ARC. What does that entail? You'll have to sign an agreement stating that you'll work for us. You'll also be required to undergo training and take a test to prove yourself. And what do I get in return for signing this agreement? Bigger paycheck than you've ever seen. Seriously? Pay is good, he said. But the real benefit is the knowledge that you're helping to keep the world safe from monsters, demons, and other threats to humanity. Not everyone gets that chance. Sounds good to me. Good, he said. Congratulations. He opened the door with a key, and we left the room together. On the way out, a man dressed in a park ranger uniform approached me. It's your new partner, Oxblood said. Well, welcome to ARC, he said. Do you mind if I ask your name? My name's John, he answered. I shook his hand. Nice to meet you, John. Likewise. All right, well, I guess this is goodbye for now, Oxblood. I'm sure I'll see you soon. You better hope you do, he joked. After leaving the building, John and I got in his car and drove off. So where are we going? Back to your cabin. We arrived at my cabin. The sun was setting and the sky was getting dark. We got out of the car and headed towards the cabin. Once inside, I sat on the couch and looked at John. So what's gonna happen now? That depends on you. What do you mean? John took out a bottle of whiskey and poured himself a drink. I watched as he drank most of it before answering. I intend to train you to become a watcher. Until then, you'll be living with me. Living with you? For the next couple of months, he answered. I hope you get used to being a watcher, so that when it becomes time for you to choose your own partner, you'll be able to keep him safe. You also start to learn things about ARC that even some of our agents don't know. What kind of things? Can't really explain it to you. It only makes sense once you're trained. I nodded. Fine. Drink up, he said. We need to get you settled in. I laughed and poured myself some whiskey. John says training begins in an hour. I'm going to take a nap before he trains me. I was woken up from my nap by the sound of shattering glass and John yelling for me to get my ass downstairs. I ran down the stairs and into the kitchen. What happened? I asked. It wasn't John who answered my question. Hello, Samuel. Seems I got the upper hand this time, Irene said, holding John by the shoulder. She looked much younger than when I last saw her. She was wearing a black dress, white gloves, and her hair was done up. She was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. What did you do to Thomas? I asked. Thomas was a fool, Samuel. He chose to stay behind to protect you. He made his choice and my town changed him, she said. I would have killed you both if you hadn't escaped. But now you're mine again, and I'm going to enjoy every minute of it. What are you talking about? What do you mean, your town? I asked. Irene smirked, her eyes sparkling with hatred. My town. He's a demon. The town is a creature created by the Demon King. He built our town to serve as his prison. He put all the monsters in it so that they could one day be released upon your world. I was speechless. My mind was reeling from the news of the town. Who are you? I finally managed to say. I'm the gatekeeper of the Demon Kingdom. I'm here to destroy the world and end life as we know it. Let me go, John shouted. She slammed him against the wall and held him there with ease. You're not going anywhere till I decide otherwise, she said, smiling. Release him, I yelled. She looked at me and laughed. You don't seem to understand, Samuel. I control this place. Nobody is going to help you. She let go of John and walked towards me. You don't scare me, and I know you can't hurt me. And that's when I remembered the silver key Dr. Oxblood had given me. Where did you get that? Wouldn't you like to know? I suddenly felt something strange. It was like my body being pulled away from my soul. I struggled to hold on to it. What are you doing? I tried to resist, but it was too late. My soul was gone. Give me that key, she screamed, running towards me. Suddenly I was back in my body again. I was kneeling on the floor in front of Irene, holding onto my head with one hand and clutching my chest with the other. I could see everything in slow motion. I watched as Irene charged towards me, her face twisted in rage. I stood up and I grabbed her by the neck, squeezing tightly. Let go of me, she screeched. I squeezed harder. I felt her throat bulge and blood began to leak out of her mouth. I threw her through the window she had broken through. I watched as she got up and glared at me before turning and heading towards Hungry Horse. I turned around, looking over to John, who was standing in the doorway, a deep gash running down the side of his face. He smiled at me. You might not need as much training as I thought you would. It's pretty impressive. I felt a surge of pride. I'll be right back, I said. Be careful, Samuel, he said. Don't get yourself killed. I smiled. Wouldn't dream of it. What's happening to me, guys? Hey there, kids, it's me, MrCreepyPasta, and I just wanted to tell you thank you for watching tonight's video, or listening to tonight's episode of the podcast. And as always, I want to give a very big thank you to everybody who supports me on Patreon. If you scroll down to the description at the very bottom, you'll find a whole bunch of people there. Also, we've included this nice little scrolling thing because the number of people who support me on Patreon has gotten so big that I'm afraid it might actually max out the description. So we've included this here as the little scrolling text on the end screens. So everybody on that scrolling text, everybody I'm about to mention right now and mispronounce all of your names, and everybody who can donate even $1, thank you so much. A very big thank you to Jordan Alexander Sanchez, Stephanie Butler, Reaper61167, Bobby Karman, Tristain, Pelton, Chance Burnett, Diana Kraus, Vicky McQuicky, SamaHigh, CrusaderChocobo, SpookyShel, Atomaurus, Grand Moth the Milky, Big Smoke 369, Captain Scurvy, SaltyIrishPoet, Estebean, Brayden Morris, Nate Kuhl, HorrorFan1212, Hour Minute Second Time, Kyle Reznak, David Martin, Scare-ington the Unkempt, Robert Malcolm, Angelus, Spanky, Snoochie Boochie, Seclude, Lupita Galvin, That Creepy Chick, Tyler Fletcher, Merxenum, Red Shadowcat, Xavier the Cheyenne, Demix, Sean Cadieu-baker, 6 Gay Rats in a Trenchcoat, Turtleman, Rob Like Sharp Things, Cryolinian, Xavier Graphius, Lord Life's Best, Goring Tremagacy, Maria Walker, Emily Mitchell, Crazy Kid, Mr. Marcus Blitz, Eka Limchok, Dirt Diver 030, Matt Bach, Voice of Sand, Coffee Zombie, Hidden Tiger, Shelly J, Jeremy H, Psychomel, Nana, Deleted Account, Melted Lake, Tali Sue, William King, Darth Miver, Michael Ortiz, Satanic Aries, Bardo Hawk 764, Lambda M98, Harley, Sashi Suzaku, Cronut 509, Kaylee Ambrose, Suji Campbell, Stricken, Freddy Krueger, Happy Birthday Jason Wilson, Lisa Cottrell, Caspian, Hades Nephew, Tater Chip, Acid System, Prozac and Pancake Appreciation Society, Benjamin Welvert, Cryptic Nightmares, Kiwi the Sloth, Fester's Lampshade, Sky Harbor, Nico Kyle, Rafael Rodriguez, The Ginger Bros, Aaron Stormcrow, Daniel Polson, and Corey Kenshin. As always, thank you guys so much, because you guys help me do everything that I do here. You guys help pay authors for stories and commission stories and do everything that I can do to make this channel and make this podcast the best it could possibly be. So thank you all for supporting me here. And as always, everyone, sweet dreams.